Dans votre monde, pardon, les dieux sont morts et la magie a ravagé la fertilité du pays. Est-ce que vous pensez que des enjeux très importants, très amplifiés, soient nécessaires à un texte de fantasy?
No. I would say it's quite a small story in that it's very personal, and there are not. It's a murder mystery. The stakes are: do we find out who wants to kill this person? Do they succeed in that? There's not. I'm not really attracted to massive stories. It's not my thing. I think personal threat is what interests me, and that is it's him that's in danger, and the relationships he makes. I'm trying not to give away the plot. So no, it's not a huge story. It does get a bit bigger in the next one. The next one is about a war, and the stakes are bigger. They're very similar, but a bigger scale. And then in the third one is the largest stakes of all of them, but it's still not sort of like big fantasy books where it's the whole world and there's an evil coming that's going to destroy everything. I don't do that, and I'm not interested in that. It's not my thing. It's all very personal and very particular to the characters, and that's where the interest in it comes from me. I don't think I gave anything away there.
Non. Personnellement, j'aime raconter des histoires assez alors petites dans le sens très personnel. Donc là, c'est vraiment une histoire où on essaye de découvrir qui veut assassiner le prince, savoir s'ils vont y arriver. Pour moi, j'aime pas les grandes histoires, je préfère les gens qui vivent des menaces personnelles. Alors c'est toujours le problème, hein, je veux vous raconter mais sans tout vous raconter parce que sinon ça ne sert plus à rien lire le livre. Il y aura des enjeux un peu plus importants dans le deuxième roman parce que ça va parler d'une guerre, donc forcément les enjeux sont plus importants. Dans le troisième roman ce sera encore plus grand, mais ça n'empêche que on n'atteint jamais le stade du le monde est en péril, le mal arrive, faut sauver la planète entière. C'est absolument pas ça que je fais. Moi ce qui m'intéresse c'est vraiment des problèmes assez personnels. Je préfère des plus petites histoires entre guillemets. J'espère que j'ai pas trop dévoilé.
Dans votre univers, la thématique du masque et du travestissement joue un rôle vraiment important. Merella, l'assassine, se grime en bouffon de cour. Et Girton passe pour un fils de famille prospère alors que c'est un ancien esclave. Tout le monde joue un rôle, hein, non?
Yeah, and Girton is a killer, and he's very, very good at it. That is his personality. That is how he judges himself and sees himself, and he knows he's good at it. He has no lack of confidence in that way, but he's also emotionally quite immature. And what the book does is less for her. I think in this book she's the less interesting character in this fashion, but because of what he has to do, he has to go undercover basically as a squire who doesn't know how to fight, and he knows enough to know that to pretend he's got a little bit of knowledge, he's going to give it away. He has to pretend to be useless, but that steals everything from him. He's left being not knowing who he is anymore, and he's also in a situation he cannot understand. He's no experience of people his age. He's only ever known adults, and when he's lost in this world, and I think that's really. We've all been in this place where I don't know, maybe you're going to a new job or something where you can be incredibly comfortable in one place. Like I'm happy to do this and to talk to you. It's my joy is to do stuff like this. But if I was at a conference about physics, I'd be hiding in a corner. And it's that feeling that Girton is having to go through. He's everything he is stripped from him, and he has to discover himself again. And that's the kind of journey I hate saying journey in that way, but it's his emotional journey, and it makes him grow up, and that's what the book is about.
Alors Girton est un assassin, il est très bon, il se voit comme un assassin, hein, c'est vraiment sa personnalité, il sait qu'il est très bon, il ne manque absolument pas de confiance en lui, par contre d'un point de vue émotif, il est assez immature. Et c'est un peu moins vrai pour elle, mais lui vraiment, il doit jouer un rôle, donc il doit jouer le rôle d'un écuyer qui ne sait pas se battre. Il ne peut pas faire semblant de savoir juste un petit peu, c'est trop difficile en fait, comme il sait super bien se battre. La seule solution, c'est de faire croire qu'il ne sait absolument pas se battre. Et du coup, pour lui, c'est extrêmement difficile parce qu'il ne sait plus qui il est, parce que c'est vraiment ce qui le définit, le fait qu'il sache se battre et tuer des gens. Et du coup, il a beaucoup de mal à comprendre la situation, notamment parce qu'il a toujours été entouré d'adultes et il ne sait pas comment fonctionnent les adolescents. Et là, tout à coup, il se retrouve entouré d'adolescents. Donc il est complètement perdu dans ce monde. Je pense qu'on a tous vécu ça quand on arrive à un nouveau boulot. On a nos zones de confort. Donc là, personnellement, je suis hyper à l'aise. Ça me va bien de vous parler de mes romans. Pas de souci. Ça me plaît. Par contre, si c'était une conférence de physique, je serais en train de me cacher dans un coin parce que j'aurais pas envie de parler, j'y connais rien. Donc du coup, lui, c'est vraiment ce qu'il ressent. Il a l'impression d'être dépouillé de tout ce qu'il est pour lui. Et il doit redécouvrir qui il est, ça l'emmène dans une espèce de, alors, je dirais peut-être pas voyage, mais vraiment il réapprend qui il est et il grandit.
Voyage is much better. I'm going to start saying voyage rather than journey.
Dans ce monde, les guerriers chevauchent des montures qui sont un petit peu particulières. Au départ, on croit que c'est des chevaux, et en fait, ils ont des bois qui peuvent s'avérer très dangereux dans un combat. Est-ce que vous pouvez nous parler un petit peu de ces bêtes et d'où vous est venue cette idée?
Yes, I can. I love them. I know exactly where I got the idea from. There's a comic strip called Slain, and I read it when I was about 15 or 16. And there's a picture of a man on the back of a horse, and he has this mask with massive antlers on it. And that is the image in my head that has led to me becoming quite obsessed with antlers. If you see me about in the science tent, ask to see pictures of my house, it's just full of things with horns. And I knew when I wrote it, one of the reasons, because I like history, I could have gone history, or I could have gone fantasy. But firstly, the plot needs magic to work. And secondly, I wanted people to ride around on things with massive antlers, and it was very important to me. I've also got a wonderful drawing that a friend of mine has done of them. I'll show anyone who wants to be bored by me talking about it. But yes, and in the second book, we get to see a cavalry charge by two sets of armies on these huge antlered beasts, which ever since they came into my head, it was all I wanted to write. That was just, and there was no excuse for it in this book, so I had to work it into the second one. That was kind of, I think, that's the entire plot. I need to have the antler monster fight. They're called war mounts. That's what they are referred to, but I don't think I call them that in this because I've not decided it.